Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Get Decked, the video series where I make budget Magic the Gathering decks for your casual games night or to use to introduce friends or family members to the game. In this video we're going to look at the Doctor Is In, which is a blue and red deck. So in the last video I made a Universes Beyond set deck based around the Lord of the Rings set, which is, as I say, it's a Universes Beyond set, and I did say I was going to make another one, and I've just recently finished a kind of a rewatch of Doctor Who, my favourite seasons with David Tennant. So I was in the mood to kind of take the Doctor Who Commander cards and make them into like a normal 60 card constructed deck. So yeah, that's what this deck is all based on, is a bunch of Doctor Who cards. So before we get into the deck and actually take a look at what's going on with it, we're going to just quickly revise our rules of Get Decked. So we set ourselves a budget of $30 or less at time recording. Decks are 60 cards intended for 2-player games. We have no format restrictions. We go for low to mid complexity, ideal for kind of newer players picking up the deck and playing for the first time. And just because the deck is casual doesn't mean it has to be weak or bad. So let's dive in and actually look at the deck list for this one. So we've got 23 creatures, 10 sorceries, 3 instants, and 24 land. We've got a mana curve off to the side there, which is kind of all over the place, but you'll see why. It'll make sense in a minute. So, firstly, how are we winning? What's the win condition of the deck? So, what we're going to try and do is suspend a bunch of cards and basically do timey-wimey stuff to get a bunch of spells, big spells, like earlier than we should. So, first off, we got 3 Star Whales, so 6 and double blue for an 8/8 with flying and vigilance. So, huge creature, gives all our other creatures ward 2 as well, which is really nice. And it has suspend 6 for 1 blue. So, gonna have to talk about suspend if you have never encountered the mechanic before. What this basically means is, instead of casting it for its normal mana cost at the top there, 6 and double blue, what we can do is suspend it by paying 1 and a blue. And what we do, we put that then in exile with 6 time counters on it. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you remove a time counter. When the last time counter is removed, we may cast it. So there's been an update actually to the suspend ruling, whereas previously, as it says here, it says cast it without paying the mana cost. The update is now that you may cast it. So that is important just in case. I mean, most of the time you are going to cast it, but like there may be times you don't want to. So if you don't cast it, it just stays in exile essentially forever. But yeah, you cast it without paying its mana cost, and it has haste. So it's essentially like you're sticking it in exile and be like, right, I'll see you in 6 turns. And we've got a bunch of ways in the deck about manipulating time counters so we can get this ticking down a lot quicker than it should. Rather than waiting 6 turns, we might be able to get it out in 3 turns. And then it's a big 8/8 flying space whale, which is great. And that's going to only take a few swings of that to win the game. So we've got 3 of those. Right, and then we've got 2 12th Doctor, so 3 a blue and a red for a 4/4. A lovely legendary creature, Time Lord Doctor. What an amazing type line to see on a magic card. So the first spell you cast from anywhere other than your hand each turn has Demonstrate, which is an obscure ability, which is only on like 5 other cards from, I think, Strixhaven Commander. So Demonstrate is when you cast the spell, you can copy it, and if you do, you choose an opponent to also copy it, and a copy of permanent spell becomes a token. So we're going to be doing a lot of casting spells from anywhere other than the hand because suspend spells come in from exile. So that means what we can do Star Whale, we can demonstrate it, which means we get a copy of the Star Whale, and we can also choose the opponent to get 1 as well, but we've got ways of dealing with those copies. So we'll get 2 and they get 1, but 2 is better than 1, last I heard. So yeah, that's an option we have there. And whenever you copy a spell, like from the Demonstrate, put a +1/+1 counter on the 12th Doctor. So Star Whale and the 12th Doctor are basically our big hitters here, who are going to swing in and do a bunch of damage. But we've got a backup plan essentially, and this is where I have to hold up my hand and say this is a deck I built back in the day, obviously before like the Doctor Who cards came out, but around Time Spiral era when these cards were out. So Rift Elemental and Arc Blade are kind of like our backup plan here. So Rift Elemental is 1 red mana for a 1/1, and has the ability when you pay 1 a red to remove a time counter from a permanent you control or a suspended card you own. Rift Elemental gets +2/+0 to turn. So this is one of the cards that's going to help us tick down our suspended cards like a lot quicker, and also get a power boost out of it at the same time. And then Arc Blade, 3 and double red, sorcery speed, does 2 damage to any target. That would usually be pretty bad for like 5 mana, but exile, after it's done the damage, you exile it with 3 time counters on it, and you can also suspend it for 2 and a red. So basically what this means is you either cast Arc Blade or you suspend it. It happens, it does the damage, and then it gets it gets re-exiled with the counts on it again. So it's going to happen again in 3 turns, and we're going to have a bunch of ways here of messing with time counters where we can have Arcblade go off potentially every turn, and then that's repeatable 2 damage for free every turn. So that's our backup plan, to kind of kill small creatures and sneak in extra burn damage onto the opponent. And say it's a deck that I built back in the day, so I can confirm from experience it works pretty well. So we're going to talk about what helps us win. So obviously we got the Star Whale, we got 12 as like big beaters, we got the Arcblade, we've got the Rift Elemental. But what's going to help support that? So it's going to be a bunch of stuff that helps with time counters, funnily enough. So we've got 2 D10, David Tennant himself, who's best doctor, don't at me. So 3 a blue and a red for 3/5 with 2 abilities. Alonzi, whenever you attack, you exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card, put 3 time counters on it. If it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend. So if we manage to hit the Star Whale with that, that's immediately cut the amount of time counters on it by half, which is great. It's also, there is a chance that it's going to hit something that we could maybe cast normally. Like, we don't want to wait around to cast it, but like that's the risk you take when you use the 10th Doctor, I suppose. There's going to be a problem with like one of the cards we've got on the deck as well, but like I think it's going to happen so infrequently, it's not going to be an issue. And also, it's just getting more stuff out. It's just building up like a whole stack of spells like in suspend all ready to kick off at once. And then the second ability, timey-wimey. So you can spend 7 to time travel 3 times, activate only as a sorcery. So time traveling is for every suspended card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter on it, you can either add or remove a time counter, then do it 2 more times. So time travel is was obviously like a big mechanic in the Doctor Who Commander set. And we've got no cards that care about having time counters on them. We don't have like cards with vanishing or anything, which are only around for a certain amount of time. All the time counters are only going to be on stuff that's suspended. So having this ability where we can just essentially just strip off a bunch of time counters at once. It's super expensive, obviously at 7 mana. It's not ideal, but once we hit it, then that's like then 2 Arcblades in a single turn, and like as we'll see, we've got other cards coming up which will be really nice when we can start getting them every turn. It works even just to tick down the other stuff like a lot quicker as well. And then we've got 2 Ninth Doctor, so 1 a blue and a red for a 2/4 with haste. Whenever the Ninth Doctor becomes untapped during your untap step, you get an additional upkeep step after this step, so which means all your suspended stuff ticks down twice as fast. We've got 2 upkeeps, so this is like a copy of the enchantment Paradox Haze, which I really wanted to put in this deck, but like it would have made the budget way too high because Paradox Haze has been printed once and has a ridiculous price because it combos with so many other things. So we're going to just use another Doctor instead, which is as good as we can get, I suppose. And also he's like a hasty attacker, we can just swing with him anyway. We want to get him tapped and attacking so he can untap and then give us the bonus upkeep so our stuff ticks down a bit quicker. Then we've got 3 Time Beetles, so 1 the blue for a 1/1. It has Skulk, so it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power, which is going to be hardly anything because it's a 1/1 itself. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, like it's basically unblockable anyway, you get to time travel. So exactly what I just said for D10, just all your suspended stuff ticks down like 1 turn a bit quicker. So it's really nice. We've got Time Beetle and the Rift Elemental helping our stuff tick down faster and get our big spells down quicker. We also got 4 Sibyllin Soothsayers, so 2 in a red for a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card with mana value 3 or greater. It gets exiled with 3 time counters on it, so it's essentially like a copy of D10's Alonzi ability. And if it doesn't have suspend, it gains suspend, and then the rest of the revealed cards go on the bottom of your library in a random order. So yeah, this is pretty good. Again, potentially hit like your big expensive stuff for this and give it only 3 time counters, so you don't have to wait as long for it. So yeah, and also like it's just a fairly okay like 3/2 creature as well, so it can perform okay once we've cast it and got that ability. Yeah. So then we've got 3 Suspicious Bookcases, 2 mana for a 0/4 artifact creature. It's a wall with defender, so it can't attack, and you can pay 3 and tap to make a creature can't be blocked this turn. So not a Doctor Who card, so but I thought it's like so thematically appropriate because I can see this in a Doctor Who episode, right? Like they're stuck somewhere and the Doctor's assistant goes like, "Oh, Doctor, this bookcase moves," and you go, "Oh, brilliant, fantastic, Alonzi," and all that, and they go through a secret tunnel behind the bookcase. So it's on theme, I would argue. And also it's really useful here as well because making creatures unblockable is obviously super good for like the Star Whale. 12 when he's got like a bunch of counters on him. So yeah, this works out really well, I think. A pumped up Rift Elemental as well goes really well with this as well. So yeah, a lot of things for Suspicious Bookcase too. And also, it's just like a fairly decent blocker early game. And then we've got 4 wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, so 1 and blue for sorcery. All we do is time travel, so again, tick down all the suspended cards a little bit quicker and draw a card. So yeah, just a really good little utility spell here, just to draw a card and, as I say, do exactly what we want to do, is tick the stuff down quicker. So we're going to talk about now what stops our opponent winning. So this is the other card I was talking about. This is essentially Arcblade's meaner brother, is Reality Strobe. So 4 and double blue, sorcery speed, to return a permanent to owner's hand. Again, for 4 and a blue, 4 and double blue, that's actually pretty bad. But you can remove, after you've done that, you remove Reality Strobe from it. You exile it with 3 time counters in it. So it's exactly like Arcblade. Like, it happens and it goes back into exile, and it's going to happen again in 3 turns. And if we can get to the point where we're getting this like every turn, that's so hard to deal with if we're bouncing a permanent every turn. And it can be, if you're feeling particularly mean, it doesn't say non-land permanents, so you can bounce opponent's land as well to kind of lock them out of doing that. Just saying, that's an option. So yeah, with all our time travel stuff, yeah, even if we get this every 2 turns, I think bouncing something is pretty good. And if we're demonstrating as well with D12, then we can do that and get 2 bounces off that. So yeah, a lot of options here. And Reality Strobe, again, speaking from experience, as I put this in my deck years and years ago with Arcblade and Paradox Haze and Rift Elemental, super mean and really creates like a lock quite easily. And then we've got 3 Mana Leak here, just as a bit of utility as a counterspell. Specifically Mana Leak, or, I mean, you could use any counterspell that's like 2 mana or less. It's basically something we don't want to hit with the Sibyllin Soothsayer. There is a chance we hit, this is one of the cards I was talking about, it could be problematic if we hit it with D10's Alonzi ability, because a counterspell and it being suspended is kind of useless, because obviously we want it to cast it in response to to another spell. But I suppose you could finagle something if it does end up suspended and you got Rift Elemental, you could maybe do that, I suppose. But yeah, specifically, we want it to be 2 or less so it dodges, so Sibyllin doesn't exile it suspended and kind of make it essentially useless. And also we got Reality Strobe here. If we bounce something, we know we've got it then, and then we've got Mana Leak to counter it if they replay it. But this could be any counterspell of your choice. I was really considering, because in the Doctor Who set, there's Reverse the Polarities, which does a whole bunch of cool effects. It's essentially like a big super charm, where it's like counterspell or like makes creatures unblockable, like you switch power and toughness across the board. So that's an option there if you wanted to spend a little bit more money and have something more like Doctor Who, thematically, I suppose. So we got to talk about what stops us winning as well, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows in Doctor Who land. So the main thing I think is we're doing a lot of durdling, and I've noticed that's the theme in these decks I've been putting together in the series. So we've got a lot of stuff that's going to be hanging out in exile with suspend counters counting down. While that's happening, we might not have the best board position. Like, we've while we're waiting stuff to happen, we've kind of we're not in the present, so we could just get kind of like blown out really quickly by like super aggressive decks while we're waiting for all our stuff to tick down. That's like a real threat, I think. So that's why it's so important we get the effects that like let us time travel or just remove time counters as quickly as possible, so we can actually get something on the board and actually like play the game, rather than look at all the stuff we got to sign and be like, oh man, it's going to be great in like 4 turns when I can do something in the game. So that's kind of a real problem. And again, speaking from experience, that is a problem that can happen. Speaking of those options we use to remove time counters, they're kind of frail or expensive. So Rift Elemental's only got 1 toughness, Time Beetle's only got 1 toughness, and these are kind of like our repeatable ways of doing of removing time counters. And obviously then we got D10 as well, but his ability is 7 mana to do, which is obviously super expensive. So again, we do have ways of cheating the time counters, but the repeatable ways are, I say, either frail and kind of vulnerable or expensive. So again, that's something to bear in mind. And I mentioned it already, but I'd remiss to say Paradox Haze is not in the deck. I'm really, really surprised Paradox Haze did not get reprinted in the Doctor Who set, because it just goes so well with obviously suspend cards, because you get 2 upkeep, so you get to tap down, you get to tick down as twice as quick. So if you wanted to splash a bit of extra money in it, then Paradox Haze, absolutely stick that in here. I don't know what you'd replace. I don't know, maybe Sibyl Soothsayers or something, maybe have like fewer of them or something, or maybe have this instead of D9 maybe, but it's an option there. But it'd be a crime if I didn't mention Paradox Haze properly. So I'd love to hear what you think about this deck. Is it a deck that you would enjoy playing, or would you make some changes to it, like we sort of just discussed there with like Paradox Haze, or like different your replacement for Mana Leak? Do you have like a friend or family member who like really likes Doctor Who and you think would enjoy playing this deck and like getting into Magic that way? Stick a comment below. I'd really love to hear people's thoughts on this deck, especially as it's because it's so similar to one I've built in the past and like had a really good time with. I'd like to hear what people have to say about this one. But that's it. That's the end of this kind of like first trial run of Get Decked. I hope you've enjoyed it. We're going to go back to pre-con, decon stuff, like reviewing pre-constructed decks. We're going to go back to that. This I just thought would be like a fun little side project to pivot to, and just do a bit of deck building and have a bit of fun. Like say if Wizards aren't going to make pre-constructed decks, I'll make my own and put them out there for people to review and think about, and hopefully get inspired by. But I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, say in the comments below, whether about this deck or even just the series we've had as a total. Like, would you like me to do like more of these decks, or was it kind of not your cup of tea? Stick a comment below. I don't care what you say. Like, I'll enjoy reading it and I'll respond to it, because I always love doing that. I always like the support and comments and engagement that these videos bring. I'm rambling a bit now, more than usual, but so that was Get Decked, the first 10 episodes, and if you like it, I'll do more of them, but I say for now we're going to pivot back and we'll go back to doing pre-con, decon stuff. So hope you join me for that when we start that up again. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.